Have you ever noticed that just as things start to go right, you find a way to set them on fire? You finally land the dream job, and suddenly you start showing up late. You meet someone who truly sees you, and you find yourself picking a fight over nothing. Or perhaps you reach a moment of profound peace, only to immediately fill your mind with a list of everything that could go wrong. We claim to want happiness, yet we often act as our own most ruthless executioners. We are haunted by an invisible force that lives in the dark corners of our mind, the inner saboteur. To the shadow explorer, this self-sabotage is not a sign that you are broken or bad. It is an invitation to look at the parts of yourself you have kept hidden. It is a signal that there is a deep, unresolved conflict between who you are becoming and who you believe you are allowed to be. Consider the story of a woman named Elena. Elena was a gifted photographer who had spent years working in the shadows, too afraid to show her work to the world. She lived in a constant state of longing, believing that if she could just get one gallery show, her life would finally begin. After years of quiet persistence, the invitation finally came. A prestigious gallery wanted to feature her work. This was the moment she had prayed for. But instead of feeling joy, Elena felt a cold, paralyzing dread. In the weeks leading up to the show, she stopped picking up her camera. She spent her days mindlessly scrolling through social media, telling herself she was waiting for inspiration. She began to neglect the logistics of the event, ignoring emails from the curator and missing deadlines for the prints. To an outsider, it looked like laziness, but in the silence of her own mind, it was an act of war. Elena was sabotaging her own joy before the world had a chance to take it away from her. Exhausted by her own resistance, Elena sought out a mentor, an elderly artist who had lived through many seasons of success and failure. She confessed her behavior, expecting to be judged for her lack of discipline. Instead, the mentor smiled and asked a question that cut through her defenses. "What are you trying to protect by failing?" Elena was stunned. She realized that her saboteur wasn't trying to hurt her. It was trying to keep her safe. In the dark, windowless room of her subconscious, there was a 10-year-old version of herself that remembered a time when her father had lost his job, just as the family was celebrating a happy milestone. She had learned, at a cellular level, that joy was a trap. She believed that the higher you fly, the more painful the fall will be. Her inner saboteur was simply an ancient, terrified guardian saying, "If I destroy this opportunity now, I can control the pain. If I never succeed, I can never be disappointed." This is the hidden logic of the shadow. We sabotage our joy because we are terrified of the vulnerability that comes with being happy. Happiness requires us to be open, and being open feels dangerous to a heart that has been wounded. We use self-sabotage as a twisted form of control. We would rather be the architect of our own misery than a victim of a sudden, unexpected tragedy. To unmask the inner saboteur, you must first practice a radical form of letting go. You must let go of the old narrative that says you are only safe when you are small. You must recognize that the saboteur is not a monster, but a part of you that is stuck in a past that no longer exists. In the philosophy of Stoicism, we learn that we cannot control the external world. We cannot guarantee that our joy will last forever. But we can control our internal response. By sabotaging ourselves, we are trying to control the future through fear. True power comes from the Zen practice of staying in the present moment, accepting the joy as it is, without needing to protect yourself from a future that hasn't happened yet. Elena decided to try a new approach. Every time she felt the urge to procrastinate or distract herself, she would stop and sit in the silence. She would say to her inner saboteur, "I see you. I know you are trying to keep me safe. Thank you for your service, but I don't need this kind of protection anymore." This is the work of integration. You don't kill the saboteur, you retire it. You bring it out of the shadows and into the light of your awareness. When you unmask the saboteur, you find that it is often just a scared child wearing a frightening mask. By offering that child compassion instead of judgment, you begin the process of healing. The night of the gallery show arrived. Elena was nervous, but she didn't run. She stood among her photographs, feeling the vulnerability of being seen. She realized that even if the show failed, or if people criticized her work, she was already victorious, because she had stopped being her own enemy. She had reclaimed her right to experience joy without the shadow of self-punishment. If you find yourself sabotaging your own progress, do not force a fake positivity. Instead, enter the dark room of your soul. Ask the saboteur, "What are you afraid will happen if I am happy?" Listen to the answer. You might find that your greatest discipline is not in working harder, but in the courage to be happy despite your fear. Your joy is not a threat. It is your birthright. The shadow will always be there, but it no longer has to hold the pen that writes your story. You're allowed to succeed. You're allowed to be loved. And most importantly, you are allowed to stay in the light, even when you are afraid of the dark. Unmask the saboteur, reclaim the joy, and remember, the only thing more terrifying than being happy is living a life where you never gave yourself the chance.